Gome seems the best bet for resupplying. I can only hope we're not too late. There was one important reason why I was selected as the mission commander. I feel so terrible right now, and not just because of our dire situation, where we're slowly choking to death. Fuel has run out, we're choking to death, we're heading towards a nearby star, and Miss Wagner is starring in her own porn film. Perhaps next time around, things will be different. Now I know that my ability to rewind along my own personal timeline is more a gift than a curse. Because otherwise, this voyage would have been in the same category as the Titanic and the Hindenburg. For real. The others initially thought I was going insane when I told them at first. Once I spoke of certain details about them that I could only have known, well, Mr. Winters thought he was hallucinating due to his concussion that he received in this chain of events. But they eventually believed me. I told them of what happened in the original chain of events. Miss Wagner was not amused by me being tricked into having her participate in a pornographic film. Although thankfully this time around I will not be fooled, and none of the crew will be participating in anything of the kind. Much to everyone's relief. Then Miss Creed asked, if I had this ability, why couldn't I rewind to a point before the accident that got us here in the first place happened? Which was a good question. And I did try to do that. It would have saved us a lot of trouble. But something about the jump drive being overloaded seemed to put a sort of wall between me and before that. Although, any further questions will have to wait. Wolfpack's Knight wanted me to challenge this squire to teach him a lesson. The Wolfpack seemed to be more reliable and less devious allies than the Gluckst. The squire ran away. Squire Maul was running away. I couldn't have that. So I continued the pursuit, intending to finish what I started. I patiently waited for a good time to intercept this overconfident Wolfpacks. They seem to like a aggressive response as far as honorable duels are concerned. I shall not disappoint. This Wolfpack is hiding around a nearby asteroid field. Obviously not a very good example of the species. I didn't waste time with pleasantries. This Wolfpack was running away from an honorable duel. This squire obviously needs to learn to finish what they started. Well, what his superior started anyway. And we were victorious! All that remains is to recover the escape pod, so we can deliver Squire Maul safely to his superior for reprimand. Squire doesn't appear to be hostile towards us now. Warpax Knight Shirak re-entered the system after the duel was concluded, presumably to retrieve Squire Moore, and was on an intercept course. Knight Shirak had a suitable punishment lined up for his subordinates. I handed him over without any delay, and he suitably rewarded us for participating in this duel. After a brief verbal exchange, we parted ways. Some minor damage, but overall, it was worth it. And it was nothing that some repairs couldn't fix. And on that note, we left this system. Once we got the right speed, Greece 386 was our next destination. Yes, good advice, Miss Wagner. The only thing in this star system, besides an asteroid field, is a single planet. Thank you for telling us that, Mr. Winters. And on closer inspection, the planet we're heading for can wait. It might be useful to have the ability to rewind along my own personal timeline. It certainly made learning somewhat quicker, at least from everyone else's perspective. But it does have limits, besides the one I've already mentioned. Also risks. It can provide some unpredictable anomalies, such as time being delayed temporarily, where you hear things a few seconds, away from when you should be. It also takes a toll on my mind, besides looking forward to mention with the exploration of the asteroid field concluded, I looked for a suitable place to exit and proceeded to conclude the exploration of this star system. Some might call this a stupid ability. Yes, I can imagine you'd say that about them, Mr. Winters. Good. We have enough fuel for 3 jumps. The maximum we can have. Well, they seem to be reliable allies. At least potentially. You just need to do something that appeals to their warrior nature. Or at least the warrior nature that they want us to see them as having. Yes, I know. I never was that good with words. That is premature, Miss Creed. Von Klitzing is definitely not a good place to resupply. We're done here. Let's move on to the next system. It was decided that Hosnabara was a good prospect. Perhaps a more thorough exploration is in order this time around. Be patient, you'll get it. Oh, we don't have it. Well, it's not as if we're gonna have a loss of gravity. Right, let's check this moon out first. Standard orbit. Yes, we need gas. Thankfully, I knew from the first time around that Viola Maya had gas. Gas that we needed to add fuel to the Ulysses. It didn't require much fuel for travelling across this very low gravity moon. Although it did make re-entry back into orbits. And yes, I know that isn't the correct term. Much easier than his likes. Mr. Winters insisted that the medical supplies are saved for something more urgent. A concussion is nothing too serious to be dealing with. It was then decided to investigate the planets. Yes, it is unfortunate. Good. The Miss Irani. I told the rest of the crew about that. Have infested this world. Van Blingbo has heavy earthquakes and therefore is too dangerous, too much of a risk to be gathering supplies with. I then decided to move on, or rather give the order to move on to the next planet in the system. Hoping that the distortions in time as being experienced will pass. Low risk. Lightning is a low risk. On Lycaon. Although, it would be prudent to use the fuel gap. Giving the Ulysses an extra error margin. if we're fortunate enough to this is not a terrible dream. It's a nightmare scenario that no one on Earth even considered. Now that's debatable, Miss Wagner. Anyway, as I was saying, if we're fortunate enough to arrive at a Warpack space station, it would be prudent to refuel and have repairs made. Menekele? Lightning again? Has decided it was too risky without any adequate protection against lightning. So we decided to move on to the last planet in the star system and its moon. Yes, of course. Military man. Ah, yes. You're thinking about your children. And how far away they are. As long as I still have the ability to rewind along my personal timeline, I shall make sure that everyone gets back to Earth alive. I won't sacrifice anyone's lives. Not if I can help it. And even then, it would be a difficult decision. Mr. Rani. I knew what these were capable of. I knew what their trick was. With a not so friendly looking EM tank. Beware of Mr. Rani bearing gifts. Considering the fluorescent green tint to that moon, which is likely infested, and seeing as they're about to do so with the planet, we decided to leave the system. A choice was before us. Do we go directly to the Sonnenberger system? Or do we take a detour to get some supplies? The Nobiyama system looks promising. ship breaking down, this had to be dealt with. So I had Mrs. Iacovelli do the repairs, and she decided the fuel gauge was the highest priority. Although I questioned it briefly, I trusted her judgment. I looked at the ship. This time around, this is the first time we've encountered. And much like the last few times, they're trying to scam us. Well, if it isn't, I'd rather not take that risk. I declined the investment offer politely. If you define politely as not powering up weapons and shields and attacking. We then proceeded to explore this system. And there appears to be some kind of derelict. Oh, you'll get used to it. Either that or you'll go insane. One of the two. Although that's quite rare. I decided to ignore the Miserani. Mostly because I can't spare the fuel. Let's see what is around this moon. Dangrania. Lightning. Not worth it. Yes. The crew watched in horror. Except Mrs. Iacovelli, where her priority is telling us that as long as we're not picking up fluoride, we'll be fine. And we've just found a gas giant. Marek Novak is far too dangerous for this lander's current setup. So we proceeded to the next planet and its moon, hoping that it'll be better. of that ship is unknown, so it's unlikely to be the Miserani. Let us hope we can find better weapons. And better defenses. Because I doubt this will be the last we've seen of them. Let us see what we have here. Burmeister. Too risky. I don't care what it says. I prefer not to take any unnecessary risks. Ah, another Brute vessel. And as for this planet, it definitely looks too risky. Walls above it. Yes. All that's left is investigating that derelict. Well, it's certainly not a planet or a moon, or a star. It seems too big for any of those. It's certainly better this time around. There's still some fuel spare. Whether or not we can have enough exotic matter for the jump to the gate, on the other hand, without getting dangerously close to a star, that's another issue entirely. Because there is a risk of getting burned. And not the usual kind of sunburn. Even though there's protection on board this ship, it's not that good. It is confirmed to be a derelict. And considering that Mrs. Iacovelli is familiar with this sort of thing, I decided that she was best suited for boarding this. Who knows? Find something that we can use. A glowing device was found, though I was unsure of what use it was to us. Miss Creed and Mrs. Iacovelli had something that they could do with it. That could be it. It was decided that we head to the Alfredhaus system, where there's a Warpax gate, via the Sollenberger system, where hopefully we can require some resources to make the jump there. Yes, they appear to see it as a bit of a game. We of course know otherwise. Hopefully this planet will not be as hazardous as most of the others we've encountered. Awashima. Harmless. Yes, quite suitable. Aside from one or two nasty variations, such as Mr. Winters getting a concussion on arrival, things are starting to look up this time around.